For the NFL and all of football, a new threat, an evaporating insurance market. From the NFL to reg leagues, football is facing a stark, new threat, an evaporating insurance market that is fundamentally altering the economic of the sport, squeezing and even killing off programs faced with higher costs and scarcity of available coverage, an outside-the-line investigation has found. The NFL no longer has general liability insurance covering head trauma, according to multiple sources. Just one carrier is willing to provide workers' compensation coverage for NFL teams. Before concussion litigation roiled the NFL beginning in 2011, at least a dozen carriers occupied the insurance market for pro football, according to industry experts. The insurance choices for football helmet manufacturers are equally slim. One helmet company executive said he was aware of only one, Pop Warner Little Scholar, which oversees 225,000 youth players, was forced to switch insurer after its longtime carrier, a subsidiary of the insurance giant AIG, refused to provide coverage without an exclusion for any neurological injury. People say football will never go away, but if we cannot get insurance, it will. John Butler, Pop Warner executive director, lamented to colloquy after discovering that just one carrier was willing to cover the organization for head trauma, according to a person who was present. Dr. Julian Paylors, Pop Warner's medical director and member of the NFL Head, Neck and Spine Committee, told Outside the Line, insurance coverage is arguably the biggest threat to the sport. Last week, the new alliance of American football announced that its Orlando franchise would practice in Georgia because the league was unable to obtain workers' compensation insurance in Florida, the Orlando Sentinel reported. With youth participation rate continuing to fall, the insurance crisis adds another layer of uncertainty to the future of America's number one sport. Insurance companies, which earn billions of dollars each year by taking on risks, are increasingly reluctant to bet on football and other sports associated with traumatic brain injuries. Some insurance industry executives compare the issue to asbestos, an occupational hazard that has cost insurer at least $100 billion. Traumatic brain injury is an emerging latent exposure, the like of which the insurance industry has not seen in decades. Joe Chalura, president of North American Casualty at Allied World, wrote in a blog post last year for the website Race and Insurance. Chalura declined to comment for this story. Basically, the word has left the marketplace. Alex Fairley, CEO of the Fairley Group, an Amarillo, Texas-based risk management firm whose clients include the NFL and Major League Baseball, told Outside the Line, if you are football, hockey, or soccer, the insurance business doesn't want you. During the November convention of the Casualty Actuarial Society in Las Vegas, William Prim, an insurance lawyer and former Yale running back, told hundreds of actuaries, overall, I think that there is a real threat to the viability of contract sport. Outside the Line interviewed insurance carriers and brokers, school administrators, lawyers, consultants, team and league officials, coaches and players, and reviewed thousands of pages of court documents and insurance contracts for this story. The details shed light on arcane but essential corner of the sport world, reeling from a crisis that began in the NFL and continues to spin out in unexpected ways. The effects are being felt most acutely across football, but ensure increasingly view all sports associated with head trauma with caution, according to industry experts. Organized sport, like most endeavors involving risk, cannot exist without insurance. How deeply the crisis ultimately will be felt is a question that is being debated in trade publications and industry reports, at insurance conferences, and among brokers who service the sport world. Scott Lunsford, a senior vice president with Key Insurance, which find coverage for amateur sport, acknowledged that several prominent carriers no longer cover head trauma but said numerous options remain available, through sometimes with restrictions that limit insurer exposure. Thank you. NCAA policies for student-athlete medical insurance breakdown. In the aftermath of Kevin Ware's serious leg injury, there were questions about who would foot the bill for Ware and what the NCAA and its membership schools could do for an injured student-athlete. Since the injury and surgery, it has been released that Ware and his family will not have to pay for the initial medical care, but that isn't how it is for every student-athlete playing for an NCAA school. Student-athletes like Kyle Hartrick found that out the hard way. Hartrick signed to play basketball at Oklahoma, but knee injuries interrupted his career. The Hartrick have to pay $10,000 out of pocket because their insurance didn't cover all of the costs, and Oklahoma didn't pay like Louisville is paying for Ware surgery. The NCAA rules on medical insurance and who pays for what can be confusing. The rules have left many athletes like Hardrick in the dark and confused about who pays when an athlete is in scholarship. Ware's injury has reignited about a debate about whether or not the NCAA should be paying the insurance for student-athletes, not the school or student-athlete themselves. NCAA rules for medical coverage. NCAA requires every student-athlete to have personal insurance. The insurance policy can be held by the student-athlete, parents, guardian, or through the school. But every student-athlete must have medical insurance to be allowed to participate in intercollegiate games, parties, or any team workout. However, the NCAA does have the same set of rules for its membership school. Thankfully for Ware, Louisville is one of the majority of NCAA Division I programs that cover their student athletes. While an NCAA spokesperson told USA Today that almost all Division I and most Division II and Division III programs cover student athletes. That seems pretty good, but almost all means some athletes are not covered. Student athletes caught in the gap. The result of the school not covering student-athlete injuries can result in confusion about who is supported to pay for the bill. Some players have been told that their insurance and the school's insurance didn't cover all the medical bills. One such unnamed player found out about the money he owed 6 years after his injury when he tried to buy a car. Hardrick family was not only stuck paying the medical bills for procedures. Valerie Hardrick, Carl's mother, didn't even know were taking place. Has been difficult, no doubt, Valerie said. You don't imagine paying those medical bills out of your own pocket when your child gets a scholarship. The NCAA is trying to eliminate the gap and confusion by improving the communication between the schools and the student athlete. But maybe it's time for the NCAA to take a completely different approach when it comes to student athlete healthcare. Loopholes for NCAA and its members. The first and most glaring problem with NCAA healthcare is that once a student athlete is no longer enrolled and under scholarship, they don't receive any medical help from their school. That is a big enough problem for former athletes that have injuries that limit mobility and therefore qualify of life and ability to find jobs. But with the growing concern about the studies done on the effect of concussion in the lawsuit against the NFL and NCAA could be dealing with a whole different issue. Along those lines, NCAA scholarships are still the one-year renewable variety. A student athlete is given scholarship on a year-to-year basis, which allows coaches to refuse a new scholarship of a player that isn't healthy enough to play. That is what happened with Hardrick at Oklahoma. Now his family isn't just having to unexpectedly pay medical bills, but also having to pay his tuition. Catastrophic Insurance Program. The Catastrophic Insurance Program is in place to provide medical care for a student athlete, student coaches, student manager, student trainers, or student cheerleaders who are injured catastrophically during a covered event. According to the program, covered event means for players on an athletic team, a qualifying intercollegiate sport competition scheduled by the insured person participating school, official team activities, conditioning or practice session. Any injury that results in $90,000 worth of medical bills will be covered by the catastrophic insurance program. Thank you.